Welcome to HOA Disasters, the channel where we expose the outrageous, the absurd, and the downright unbelievable stories from neighborhood hell. I'm Shako, and if you've ever dealt with an HOA that went too far, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because, trust me, these stories only get crazier. Now let's get started. The sky was still dark when Claire climbed the porch steps, barefoot, the Marine Corps flag folded neatly in her arms. Her breath hung in the morning air, and so did the silence. Matt had been gone for 12 days. She reached the flagpole mount he'd installed himself 2 days before deployment. She could still hear his voice, steady and soft, as he tested the bracket. "This one stays up until I come home. Promise me." Claire unfolded the deep red fabric with care. The gold globe, anchor, and eagle glinted under the porch light. It wasn't just a flag. It was their bond. A symbol of presence through absence. She clipped it in and stepped back. From inside, her son Noah, age 7, pressed his forehead to the window. He raised one hand in a crooked salute. Claire smiled gently and whispered, "Dad would be proud." Her daughter Ava, just 4, toddled to the doorway and said what she always did. "Can he see it from over there?" Claire knelt down. "He'll know it's flying. That's enough." By morning, the neighbors noticed. A few smiled. One man across the street gave a thumbs up. But most just looked, then looked away. Claire didn't care. She wasn't doing it for them. 2 days later, the envelope arrived. Plain white, no postage, just slid into the door frame. She opened it and felt her chest tighten. Violation notice. Improper flag display. Non-compliant with neighborhood aesthetic standards. Fine, $100. 0 cents. The words blurred, her eyes locked on one line in particular. "Please remove any flags that do not meet uniform decorative expectations." Her jaw clenched. She reread the notice again. No mention of the American flag. No concern for seasonal flags or college banners seen on other porches. Just this flag. Claire folded the letter and walked outside. The flag flapped high and proud. She wasn't taking it down. Not today. Not ever. Claire sat at the kitchen table, the violation notice flattened beneath a glass of cold tea. The wording gnawed at her. Non-compliant, decorative expectations, improper display. Decorative? This wasn't a garden gnome. It wasn't twinkle lights in July. It was the flag of the United States Marine Corps. Her husband's flag. She opened her laptop and logged into the HOA portal, navigating the clunky, half-broken website until she found the digital bylaws. It took nearly 20 minutes to locate the section on flags. What she read only deepened the knot in her chest. It didn't ban military flags. It didn't even mention them. All she found was a vague clause buried in a list of exterior decor guidelines. L flags must maintain visual harmony within the community and not detract from the overall appearance of the subdivision. No definitions, no standards, no list of acceptable flags. Just enough ambiguity to find whoever they wanted. She drafted a calm, respectful email to the board. "To whom it may concern. I received a notice this week regarding a flag I placed on my porch in honor of my husband's deployment. The flag is the official banner of the United States Marine Corps. This has been our family tradition for 3 generations. There is no language in the bylaws banning military flags. I respectfully ask that this fine be reviewed and revoked. Sincerely, Claire Henderson." She hit send and waited. By the next morning, the reply was waiting in her inbox. Short, blunt, Claire, the flag in question does not align with the HOA's aesthetic policies. Sentiment is not policy. All non-American flags must be removed to preserve the community's visual integrity. Fine stands. Claire stared at the message. No name, no signature, just cold indifference. By that afternoon, a new letter arrived, this one certified. The fine had increased to $200, 0 cents, citing non-compliance and failure to respond appropriately. Attached to it was a photo from her house, her porch, her flag. Someone had taken it from the street. Without her knowing, without permission, Claire sat down on the couch and closed her eyes, the weight of it all pressing into her chest. This wasn't just about a rule. This was about what the flag meant, what it stood for. She thought of Matt, somewhere across the world, probably exhausted, probably carrying gear heavier than anything she was dealing with, but still fighting for people like the ones finding her now. She stood up, walked to the front door, and stepped outside. The flag still waved. She looked up at it and said out loud, "They're going to have to take it down themselves." That night Claire lay awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling. The house was quiet, too quiet without Matt's footsteps pacing from the bathroom to the closet, without the thump of his boots left by the door. She reached across the bed. Cold sheets met her fingers. The empty side still smelled faintly of his cologne. Outside the window, the marine flag rustled in the breeze. It should have brought comfort. Instead, it felt like a target. At breakfast, Noah looked up from his cereal. "Mom, are they going to take Dad's flag away?" Claire paused, spoon midair. "No, sweetheart, they're just confused, but we'll fix it." Ava chimed in from her booster seat, cheeks full of toast. "I kissed it so Daddy knows I miss him." Claire felt something lodge in her throat. She smiled through it. "I'm sure he felt it." After drop-off, Claire walked to the porch and inspected the flag bracket. Still secure. Still upright. The same one Matt had bolted into the wood by hand. She remembered that night, 2 days before his flight. He'd stood on the ladder, drill in one hand, flag in the other. Claire had asked if it was really necessary. "Every Marine in my family's had one," he said, tightening the last bolt. "And when it flies while I'm gone, it tells everyone what we stand for." Claire hadn't questioned it after that. Now she understood why it mattered more than ever. Inside, she printed out the Marine Corps flag code and the Department of Defense statement on symbolic displays of military service. She slipped both into a sheet protector and taped them to the inside of the living room window, facing outward. Let them read it. Let them understand. That afternoon, she found another envelope wedged into the doorframe. No postage, no return address. But this time, it wasn't a violation notice. It was a note. Handwritten, careful script. "I saw what they did to your flag. They fined my husband for hanging a Navy wreath 2 years ago. We didn't have the energy to fight it. But I wanted you to know you're not alone." No name, just a quiet message of solidarity. Claire folded the note and slid it into the family binder under the tab marked Deployment. That night, she left the porch light on, the flag glowing beneath it. He wasn't backing down. He was just getting started. The next morning, Claire made a list. It started with a single column in a yellow notebook. Other military families in the neighborhood. She wasn't sure how many were left. People came and went. Rotations, retirements, transfers. But she remembered faces. Flags. Stories traded at block parties over lemonade and folding chairs. She went for a walk, not aimless, deliberate, past the Cooper's old house where a faded army decal still clung to the mailbox, past the Fernandos who used to hang a flag for their son on the front gate. All gone now. Claire knocked on 3 doors that morning. 2 didn't answer. The third opened slowly. An older woman peeked through the crack. "Yes?" Claire offered a polite smile. "Hi, sorry to bother you. I'm Claire. I live down on Mulberry. My husband's deployed and I got fined for flying a Marine flag. I just wondered if anything like that ever happened to you." The woman paused, then opened the door fully. "I'm Denise," she said. "My late husband was Navy. They fined me for hanging a Blue Star banner in the window the year he passed." Claire's heart sank. "You're kidding." Denise shook her head. Said it broke uniformity. Told me if I wanted to remember him I should do it privately. Claire couldn't respond. Denise stepped aside. Come in. I'll show you something. Inside, she pulled a folder from the hall closet. Letters. Fine notices. Printouts of HOA policy. Claire scanned the papers. Same phrasing, same tone. Pattern. Denise poured coffee while Claire jotted down dates. Most people didn't fight. They just wanted peace. But you? You're doing something we all should have. Claire left with a full page of notes and a lump in her chest. That night, she created a spreadsheet. Name, branch, type of display, date of fine, quote from HOA letter. 4 entries before she even posted publicly. Then she made a quiet call to the retired Marine colonel her father once served with, a man who now ran the local American Legion post. He picked up on the second ring. Claire, I heard about Matt's deployment. You holding up? She told him everything. The flag, the fine, the note, the other families. Silence. Then, we've seen this in other neighborhoods. Quiet pressure. HOA boards overreaching with no accountability. Claire asked, Can I meet with someone from the Legion just to talk? You won't meet with someone, he said. You'll meet with all of us. Claire parked her car outside the American Legion Hall just after sunset. The building wasn't large, an old brick structure with faded murals on the side and a rusted flagpole out front. But the parking lot was full. She hesitated at the door, her fingers hovering over the handle. Then she took a breath and stepped inside. Every head in the room turned toward her. Men in worn caps, women with folded arms and steady eyes. A row of framed medals hung on the back wall. Flags lined the stage. The energy wasn't hostile, it was alert, focused. The colonel, now retired and known simply as Mac, walked over and shook her hand. Everyone, this is Claire Henderson, Marine wife, HOA target. There were nods, some solemn, others furious. Claire stood at the front and told them everything. She held nothing back. The letter, the photo, the anonymous note, the vandalized flag, the whispered stories, the silence from the board. When she was finished, the room was dead quiet. Then one man, Vietnam era, stood up. My grandkids fly a flag for me? You're telling me that's a violation now? Another, we didn't serve so some HOA could erase us for being inconvenient. Mac looked around the room. We're not going to let this slide. Claire opened her binder and laid out the documentation she'd collected. Names, incidents, patterns. I don't want revenge, she said quietly. I want to be able to hang my husband's flag while he's away. That's it. That's all this ever was. Mac nodded. Then let's make sure you can, and make sure they never try this again. By the next morning, the American Legion's Facebook page had posted Claire's story. With her permission, Marine family fined for flying flag during deployment. HOA says military banners violate aesthetic standards. We say enough. Marine flag stays. The post exploded. Hundreds of shares, dozens of comments. Other military families began posting their own stories. Photos of flags. Letters of warning. HOA fines from across the country. Claire's inbox lit up. Messages poured in. Thank you for speaking up. Same thing happened to us. We're flying our flag tonight for you. Then came a call from Channel 7 News. We're covering the story. Would you be willing to speak on camera? Claire hesitated. Only if we don't blur the flag. The reporter chuckled. We wouldn't dare. Claire stood on her front porch in a crisp blue blouse, nervously smoothing her sleeves as the news van pulled to the curb. The Marine flag rippled gently behind her. It had been freshly laundered and rehung that morning. No crease, no stain, no apology. The reporter, a young woman named Leah, stepped out and introduced herself with a firm handshake and soft eyes. "We've gotten a lot of calls about your story," she said. "People are angry, really angry." Claire nodded. "So am I." Within minutes, the camera was rolling. Claire told her story again, this time with the flag fluttering behind her, catching the late morning sun. "I'm not looking to start trouble," she said into the mic. "I just want to honor my husband. This flag doesn't harm anyone. It doesn't disrupt anything. It's part of our lives. And they want to fine us into silence." Leah turned to the camera. "You've received multiple fines for this flag?" Claire nodded. 3 now. Over $300, 0 cents, and threats of legal action. The final segment aired that night, prime time. The headline read, "Marine Wife Fined for Flying Flag. HOA Claims Display Breaks Visual Harmony." The footage showed Claire, her kids, the flag, the notice letters. Then it cut to the HOA's headquarters. An empty office with locked doors. The backlash was immediate. Claire's phone buzzed nonstop. Messages poured in from across the country. "We just put up our own marine flag. We stand with you. My brother is deployed. We're flying his unit colors tonight. Your HOA should be ashamed. We're calling your mayor tomorrow." By the next morning, marine flag stays had gone national. News stations in other states picked up the story. Veteran advocacy organizations released official statements condemning the HOA's actions. Claire was asked to appear on a morning show via video call. She hesitated. She didn't want to be a symbol, but she realized this was no longer just about her. It was about every military family who'd been told to hide. That night, she stood on her lawn, looking at the porch. Across the street, a neighbor she'd barely spoken to now had a Navy flag on their fence. Next door, an Army banner flapped beside a thin blue-lined flag. Flags were appearing everywhere. Claire wasn't alone anymore. The neighborhood looked different now, stronger. But the HOA wasn't backing down. 2 days later, she received a thick envelope in the mail. Cease and desist. They accused her of media manipulation, community destabilization, and damaging the board's professional reputation. Claire stared at the paperwork. Her hands didn't shake this time. She picked up her phone and dialed the number Mac had given her. When he answered, she said, "Tell your lawyer friend I'm ready." It started with a whisper on Facebook. "If you're local, bring your flag. Saturday, 10 a.m. Her street, no formal organizer, no sponsors, just a time, a place, and a mission. Claire stood at her window Saturday morning, fingers wrapped around a coffee mug that had long gone cold. She hadn't slept much, not from anxiety, but anticipation. By 9:30, she saw the first car pull up. Then another. Then 5 more. By 9:45, a pair of older vets unfolded a massive American flag and carried it between them like stained glass. By 10 o'clock, there were over 70 people standing on her street. Some held Marine flags, others carried Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, POW/MIA. A few held simple cardboard signs. "We don't back down. HOAs don't silence service. Semper Fi, Claire." Claire opened the front door slowly. Her kids rushed past her onto the porch, eyes wide. Noah stood tall and saluted. Ava waved to a group of uniformed Marines across the street. Claire's throat tightened. Then someone handed her a folded flag. Not to fly, just to hold. Max stepped forward. "You're not fighting this alone anymore." The local news showed up first, then the city station, then a national crew. Drones buzzed overhead, catching footage of the flag-linked street stretching into the horizon. The HOA board, silent, absent. By noon, reporters were interviewing veterans who had come from neighboring towns. Some drove hours to be there. "I served in Fallujah," one man said on camera, gesturing to Claire's porch. "If she wants to fly a damn flag, no bureaucrat with a title and a clipboard is going to stop her." The footage aired that night on nearly every major channel. Claire's face. The porch. Her children. The flags. America saw it. in America responded. By evening, thousands of people had posted their own photos with the hashtag #FlagLine for Claire. From small towns in Texas to neighborhoods in New Jersey, porches lit up with military banners. And just after sundown, a black SUV pulled into Claire's street and parked halfway down the block. Out stepped the mayor. No cameras, no press. He walked directly up to Claire and shook her hand. "I can't reverse their fines," he said quietly. "But I can tell you this. City Council is reviewing the HOA's authority as of Monday morning." Claire nodded. The flag above her porch didn't move. It stood still, like it knew what it meant now. Monday morning hit like a thunderclap. Claire was still sipping her first cup of coffee when her phone buzzed. It was Mag. No hello, just 4 words. They leaked the emails. Before she could respond, her notifications exploded. Screenshots flooded the Facebook groups, local reporters, veteran forums, then national outlets. Internal HOA emails, real, raw, and unmistakably arrogant, had made it into the light. Claire opened one and felt her stomach twist. If we don't set a precedent, these military families will think they're above the rules. Another. The Marine wife is getting too bold. Fines aren't working. Time to escalate. And worse. Veterans bring unwanted politics. This isn't a parade street. Keep the visuals clean. Claire's hands tightened around her phone. There was no ambiguity anymore. No aesthetic standards. No gray area. It had never been about policy. It was about control. The public responded with fury. Within hours, 2 HOA board members resigned. Their social profiles were locked down. Their contact pages went dark. The management company overseeing the HOA posted a statement by noon. "We are reviewing our contract with the association board. We do not condone discriminatory enforcement of HOA rules." The fine notices against Claire quietly dropped. But she wasn't finished. Claire released a statement of her own, brief, calm, and unflinching. This was never about one flag. It was about standing up for those who serve and the families who hold the line while they're gone. Our voices were never too loud. They were finally being heard. That night she spoke at a local town hall. Standing room only. Neighbors filled every seat. Some brought their children. Others brought photos of family members in uniform. Claire didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply read the names of every person in her neighborhood who had been fined, warned, or harassed for showing pride in their service. When she finished, the room stood in silence. Then applause broke like thunder. A city councilwoman took the microphone and said, "We're introducing a motion next session to review HOA enforcement authority across the county. This ends now." Outside, reporters surrounded Claire. "What happens next?" they asked. She looked into the camera. Her voice didn't shake. "We take back our front porches." Within 48 hours of the leaked emails, the County Ethics Commission issued a formal notice. An active investigation has been opened into the Stone Ridge HOA board for discriminatory enforcement practices, misuse of authority, and potential financial mismanagement. It was the first time Claire had seen that HOA board described in terms that matched what she'd felt all along. Discriminatory, misuse. The storm that followed wasn't fast. It was surgical. Investigators requested meeting minutes, budget records, and communication logs. Residents began submitting sworn statements detailing years of strange fines, silence when they questioned authority, and a culture of retaliation. What had started as a fight over a single flag was now revealing something much deeper. Claire watched it all unfold like someone watching demolition crews take down a crooked tower, one beam at a time. Then came the internal audit. The HOA had been issuing thousands of dollars in fines each year under vague language like non-conforming presentation or decorative disturbance. Most of it wasn't even tracked in the ledger, but one entry stood out. Legal consultation, $8,400, 0 cents. Recipient, a law firm run by the brother-in-law of HOA President Gerald Kincaid. Conflict of interest, hidden budgets, retaliatory action. The local newspaper ran the headline: Stone Ridge HOA in collapse, internal corruption uncovered following flag controversy. 2 more board members resigned under pressure. The city issued a freeze on all active HOA enforcement actions pending review. Then the HOA management company did the unthinkable. They pulled out completely, terminating their contract with a statement that read, in part, "This board has operated outside ethical bounds. We will not manage a community where service to country is treated as a violation." With no management, no enforcement power, and no quorum, the board was effectively dead. Residents received letters notifying them of an emergency election to rebuild the HOA, this time with community oversight and a public vote. Claire? She was nominated by half the neighborhood before she even had a chance to consider it. She declined. "I didn't do this to lead," she told Mac. "I did it to live." But she agreed to one thing. She'd help rewrite the bylaws. Line by line. Word by word. And at the very top of the new draft, in bold, was this clause: "No flag representing military service, law enforcement, or memorial tribute shall be prohibited, penalized, or subject to discretionary removal." They didn't just fix the board, they redefined the rules. The plane landed just after noon. Claire stood at the edge of the arrivals gate, heart pounding, kids bouncing at her sides. Ava clutched a sign covered in glitter glue. "Welcome home, Daddy." Noah held a small Marine Corps flag, waving it like he was directing traffic. And then Matt appeared. Tan uniform, tired eyes. The moment Claire saw him, everything else, the letters, the fines, the meetings, the headlines, melted into the background. He dropped his duffel and scooped the kids into his arms. Claire waited a beat, then stepped into him, holding him tight. "I heard," he said softly in her ear. "All of it." She pulled back, smiling through tears. "I didn't plan any of it." He looked at her, steady, proud, but she didn't back down. The drive home was quiet, peaceful. Matt stared out the window at the neighborhood. Flags still up on porches, military banners fluttering gently on fences. When they turned onto their street, he blinked. Nearly every house had a flag. Marine, Navy, Army. Some hung side by side. Others stood alone, but none were hidden. Claire parked in the driveway. Matt got out slowly, taking it in. His eyes stopped at their own porch. The Marine Corps flag he'd installed before deployment was still there, faded now but untouched. Beneath it, a new brass plaque had been drilled into the wooden beam, flown in honor of CPT. Matthew Henderson and all who serve. Matt stood there, jaw tight. Noah looked up. "We kept it up the whole time, Dad," Asa added. "They tried to make us stop, but Mommy said no." Claire watched his shoulders rise, then fall. He turned to her, voice soft. "You didn't just hold the house together, you held the line." Inside, Claire made coffee. Matt walked the room slowly, reacquainting himself with home, but outside, the porch said everything. The flag wasn't just a banner anymore, it was proof. Of resilience, of community, of quiet defiance that grew into something unstoppable. 1 year later, the porch looked the same, but the world around it had changed. The flag still flew. Same pole, same bracket. But now, it wasn't the only one. Flags fluttered all down the street. Red, white, blue. Gold stars, black, POW/MIA banners. Emblems from every branch of the military. No fines, no warnings, just freedom. Claire stood at the podium in front of a modest crowd gathered at the town's Memorial Day ceremony. Her hands didn't shake this time. She didn't read from notes. She didn't need to. She looked out over the audience, neighbors, veterans, city council members, kids sitting cross-legged in the grass, and said, "I didn't set out to make a statement. I just hung a flag. A flag that stood for my husband, for our family, for something bigger than all of us. When they told me it didn't belong, I didn't raise my voice. I raised my standards. And I learned that sometimes the smallest acts, done quietly, make the loudest noise. Applause rippled gently, respectful. A few in the crowd saluted, others simply nodded, eyes wet. Afterward, Claire helped her kids pass out many flags to the children in attendance. A veteran in full-dress uniform approached her, gripping her hand. "You didn't just protect your flag," he said. "You reminded us what it's worth." Legislation had passed 3 months earlier. State-level protections now barred HOAs from penalizing patriotic or military-affiliated displays. Lawmakers cited Claire's story on the floor. Her name was never printed in the bill. But everyone knew. That night, Claire, Matt, and the kids sat on the porch, sipping lemonade under string lights. Noah pointed across the street. "They have one now, too." Claire followed his gaze. An elderly couple had mounted a Marine flag that day. "Looks good," Matt said. Claire smiled. "It always did." The camera would have panned out then if this were a film. The street bathed in golden light, flags waving gently in the breeze, a family whole again. Not just because a deployment ended, but because they had fought a different kind of battle. And won. All because of a flag they refused to take down. A flag that stood tall. A flag that changed everything. Sometimes it's not the battles on the front lines that test us. It's the quiet ones we fight at home. Claire didn't raise her voice. She raised a flag. And that flag did what words couldn't. It united a neighborhood, exposed the truth, and reminded a nation what respect really looks like. If this story moved you, share it. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories where justice, courage, and community collide. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment where the little guy stands tall. We'll see you in the next one.